But they failed in their attempt, and it triggered the fall of Tokyo.
And that power is something that is totally beyond our...
Few films have left as lasting an impact on animation and art in general as Akira. Katsuhiro Otomo's magnum opus is a spectacle of hand-drawn artistry, pushing the boundaries of what animation could achieve with its intricate detail, fluid motion, and apocalyptic vision of Neo-Tokyo. Adapted from Otomo's own sprawling manga, the film condenses its dense narrative into a visceral high-speed descent into chaos, rebellion, and existential horror. But beyond its world-building and action, Akira stands out for its unique portrayal of people. Expressive, flawed, and often unsettling in their exaggerated, unorthodox designs. No film has ever truly matched its ambition, so what is it about Akira that makes it feel so singular even decades later? In the aftermath of World War III, Neo-Tokyo is a city teetering on the edge, corrupt, overrun with biker gangs, and primed for revolution. When delinquent Tetsuo Shima comes into contact with a mysterious government experiment, his latent psychic abilities awaken, setting off a chain of destruction that threatens to consume the city. As his power spirals out of control, his best friend Kaneda is drawn into a battle against shadowy government forces, anti-establishment rebels, and a force far beyond human understanding. Before Akira became a landmark film, Katsuhiro Otomo had already made a name for himself in the manga industry. Known for his gritty, detail-rich storytelling inspired by Western comics and cinema. Growing up in post-war Japan, Otomo was drawn to the social realism of French and American films, particularly the works of Moebius and Blade Runner, which influenced his approach to world building. His early manga, like Domu: A Child's Dream, explored psychic powers, corruption, and urban decay, ideas that would later be fully realized in Akira. Unlike many of his peers, Otomo rejected the conventional idealism found in much of anime and manga, instead portraying people as flawed, desperate, and shaped by oppressive systems. His work often critiqued authority and the cyclical nature of destruction and rebirth, themes that resonated deeply in Akira's dystopian vision of Neo-Tokyo. However, what truly set Akira apart wasn't just its grand scale or cyberpunk setting. It was its raw, unfiltered portrayal of human nature. Otomo's characters didn't conform to the conventional beauty standards. Their ugly faces, exaggerated expressions, and worn-down appearances reinforced the story's themes of decay, violence, and the struggle for control in a collapsing world. The manga's blend of high-octane action, social commentary, and psychological depth made it a phenomenon, paving the way for the film's ambitious adaptation. Given its massive scope and high-budget animation, it's almost a miracle that Akira was greenlit. At the time, anime films rarely received significant funding, but Akira was backed by the Akira Committee, a rare collaboration between major Japanese studios and publishers pooling resources to bring Otomo's vision to life. With a budget of over 1 billion yen, unprecedented for an animated film in Japan at the time, Otomo was given the freedom to craft a fully realized cinematic version of his manga, complete with synchronized voice acting and an original score that blended traditional and experimental music. The result was a film that did not just adapt Akira, it redefined what anime could achieve on a global scale. The animation of Akira is nothing short of extraordinary, pushing the medium to new heights with its painstaking detail and fluidity. At a time when most anime relied on cost-saving techniques like reused frames and limited movement, Otomo and his team insisted on full-frame animation, with nearly 160,000 cells bringing Neo-Tokyo to life in stunning cinematic motion. Character animation was given just as much attention as the city itself, with subtle naturalistic movements that made every action feel weighty and grounded. The film also pioneered the use of pre-scored dialogue, uncommon in anime at the time, allowing for lip sync that enhanced the realism of its performances. These artistic choices, combined with its dynamic use of light, shadow, and perspective, gave Akira an unparalleled sense of scale and presence. Beyond its technical feats, Akira embodies a rare intersection of fine art and animation, blending hyper-detailed mechanical designs with raw expressionistic character work. Otomo's backgrounds are filled with decay and infrastructure, portraying a world in the process of crumbling, while his characters, designed with a departure from conventional anime aesthetics, feel raw, lived in, and intensely human. The film's color palette was built from over 300 distinct shades, including custom colors created specifically for Neo-Tokyo's neon-drenched skyline. Even the film's lighting techniques, such as Otomo's use of color separation for explosions, showcase an obsessive level of craft typically reserved for live-action filmmaking. Whether Akira's meticulous animation could ever be replicated is beside the point. Its existence alone marks it as one of a kind. Some argue that advancements in digital technology make such a production easier, while others claim the industry will never again devote such time and resources to a single animated film. But Akira transcends these debates. It is not simply an achievement in animation, it is a singular artistic statement, one that reshaped the language of anime and continues to influence filmmakers and animators decades later. The first time I saw Akira, I was too young to fully understand what I was witnessing. Flipping through the channels, I stumbled upon the Sci-Fi channel right as the infamous body expansion scene played out, and it honestly kinda broke my brain. I had already been exposed to horror movies and dark anime like Yu Yu Hakusho's Chapter Black arc at a young age, but nothing had prepared me for the sheer level of detail and visceral horror unfolding on screen. The grotesque transformation, the weight of the animation, and the overwhelming sense of chaos, it was unlike anything I had ever seen. Very few things have ever left that kind of impression on me, and to this day, Akira remains one of my default answers for what a perfect 10 looks like. It's a film that lingers in your mind long after the credits roll, and Otomo's work as a whole is something I'd recommend to anyone who wants to see just how far the medium can be pushed. For the rest of the review and video there will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch and come back. Akira opens with the city on the edge, Neo-Tokyo, a neon-lit urban wasteland still reeling from the scars of World War III. Amid the chaos, we meet Tetsuo Shima, a rebellious teenager stuck in the shadow of his best friend Kaneda. Tetsuo is angry, insecure, and desperate to prove himself, and when his latent psychic powers are awakened, it's like a fuse has been lit. His transformation from a frustrated kid into a being with godlike power serves as a brutal commentary on unchecked ambition and how the thirst for power can eat someone alive. Tetsuo's escalating rage and the uncontrollable nature of his new abilities show just how fragile the human mind is when overwhelmed by forces it can't understand or control. His abilities represent more than just destruction, they are a metaphor for the unchecked ego, feeding off his vulnerabilities and spiraling into something monstrous. Kaneda, while often reckless and selfish, is the one person who still sees Tetsuo as his friend rather than a threat. Their relationship is at the heart of Akira. Kaneda's journey isn't about saving the world, but about saving the person he once knew. The fact that he's willing to go to the ends of Neo-Tokyo to stop Tetsuo, despite how dangerous he's become, speaks to the power of personal connection in a world that's otherwise filled with faceless, corrupt institutions. Kaneda's loyalty to Tetsuo contrasts sharply with the government's obsession with control. The government treats Tetsuo like a weapon, something to be harnessed or destroyed, while Kaneda sees him as a human being. In a city where everything is collapsing, it's that bond, flawed as it may be, that drives the emotional core of the story. When Tetsuo discovers the secret of Akira, the original Esper who triggered the catastrophic explosion that destroyed the old Tokyo, his descent into madness becomes inevitable. He begins to lose himself to the power he can't control, his body warping, his mind unraveling, and his actions go from violent outbursts to full-scale destruction. The more Tetsuo struggles to maintain control, the more it becomes clear that he's fighting against his own identity, becoming something that's no longer human. And in the end, when Akira is revealed, it's not just about stopping Tetsuo, it's about confronting the reality that some forces are beyond understanding, beyond control. The destruction of Neo-Tokyo and Tetsuo's final, almost cosmic transformation leaves us with a powerful message. Power isn't just something we wield, it's something that can consume us. The open-ended conclusion forces us to reflect on the nature of human ambition and its tendency to spiral into chaos when driven by personal demons. Now, despite everything positive Akira has to offer, it can still be a troubling film to discuss, albeit not for its content. Akira initially gained traction in the US as an over-the-top, extreme, and shocking movie. It eventually was retconned to be part of the acceptable canon of good anime for Western audiences. Forever removed from its original context and influence, it's the center of a lot of concern trolling and very strong statements from deeply unserious and unshowered individuals. From not just engaging with the content at all and obsessing over its conceptual form, to concern trolling about its impacts actually being negative 35 years later, it's all been done to death. I'd recommend just ignoring all the meta discussions and watching it and reading the colored manga if you're not an avid manga reader. Also, checking out some of Otomo's other work will definitely give you more insight into the thematics and aspects of his work that were the most influential. Otomo had a rebellious streak that found its way into his work, which was especially evident when he was given the green light to adapt his own manga into a film. A lesser known but incredibly telling fact is that Otomo often clashed with studio executives during the production of Akira. with many of them wanting a more commercial or conventional approach to the animation. Otomo fought to keep his vision intact, often refusing to compromise on things like the film's complex, mature themes and the unconventional animation style. At one point, the film's budget almost exceeded its limits, and there were serious discussions about pulling the plug, but Otomo's sheer determination to make Akira exactly as he saw it helped push the project through. That same rebellious energy is what gave Akira its unique, uncompromising nature. With all that being said, I've always found Akira interesting in both concept and form. Its backstory and production process is more of an interesting story than something I intrinsically tie to the value of the film or how it should be perceived. The fact of the matter is that it's more or less objectively perfect technically, a great abridged version of the manga, and an unprecedented borderline Soviet-tier production that would go on to directly influence a lot of talented people. With Akira, it's just the case that it is as good as it's said to be, though despite its success, it's still often misunderstood due to its loss of context and particular subject matter. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Akira? Is it one of the best films in your opinion, or is it overrated? Do you find the meta discussions of it uninteresting, or do you think there's merit to them? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for making it until the end of the video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Here at Inner Spiral, we aim to cover the movies, shows, and games we all love, so be sure to join us and I'll see you next time in the Spiral.